Hello, subscribers. I want to play a game. For years, you all have been watching my videos, but it's become apparent that none of you watch it in its entirety. Some of you like to pause and come back to it later. Others like to skip around in the video just to see bits and pieces of it. And some of you don't watch it at all. Well, that all ends today. For you see, this video is linked to your heartbeat. If you do not watch the video in its entirety, or if you pause it at any moment, or skip around, you will instantaneously die. And so, if you are to survive this night, you will have to watch this video in its entirety. Live or die. Make your choice.
The Black Critic Guy, and I'm here today to review the reboot to the Saw franchise, Jigsaw. So Jigsaw takes place 10 years after the death of John Kramer, but even so, a new game has arose, leading 2 detectives as well as 2 morticians to search for who's responsible for this new game. And from here, the game begins. I am a die-hard fan of the Saw franchise. I have loved this franchise since the very beginning, and I was completely heartbroken when that piece of shit came out back in 2010. I couldn't believe what I was watching. This was going to be the final chapter, the thing that was going to tie up all the loose ends and wrap up the Saw franchise. This thing, it was atrocious. It was a terrible send-off to what was a great horror franchise. Probably one of the best horror franchise in my opinion. And after that film came out, I thought it was good and dead. There was no way that the Saw franchise would ever come back from that atrocity. So imagine my surprise when I found out that Lionsgate was going to reboot the Saw franchise with a new creative team. And when I found that out, I'm not gonna lie, I was both excited and very hesitant. But I was really excited to find out that the people who were directing it, helming the project, were the same guys who directed the very underrated vampire film Daybreakers. If you haven't seen it, please go see it. It's a great film. But then I got worried again when I found out that the 2 guys writing the film were responsible for Piranha 3D. Yeah, that don't look good, man. That was creepy. But fun fact, by the way, so these guys wrote Piranha 3D, and then there was a sequel, Piranha 3 Double D. The people who wrote Piranha 3 Double D were the same guys that wrote Saws 4 through 7. And then now, the guys who wrote Piranha 3D wrote the reboot to the Saw franchise. I just found it kind of funny how they kind of switched places. Those guys started writing for the Piranha 3D films, and then they started writing for the reboot, even though it was years later. I know that's a needless tidbit, but I just thought that was kind of fascinating that they kind of swapped places. And so, the reboot has finally arrived, and what do I, a huge fan of this franchise, think about it? Well, let's start the game, shall we? There are 3 important ingredients needed to make a great and successful Saw film. Inventive traps, clever writing with a great twist at the end, and sympathetic characters even though they have done reprehensible things. And I gotta tell you guys, Jigsaw hits all 3 of them. I was so proud. I was like, wow. The people who made this film were truly passionate about the project and understood the Saw franchise and what made it work so well. The problem with Saws 5 through 7, which eventually led to the franchise's downfall, is that it mostly focused on one of those ingredients rather than evenly focusing on all 3. They put most of their attention on the torture porn aspect, the inventive traps. And because they focused mostly on that, the series became a one-trick pony. It's all about the traps. That's really all anyone cares about, right? No one cares about clever writing and great dialogue and characters who are kind of sympathetic even though they are scumbags. No one cares about that. Throw that out the window. We need more traps. and clearly they did not understand what made the first 3 films so great. You need all 3 guys, although the last film had none of those elements because, let's be real, they just didn't give a fuck at that point. They just abandoned ship and said, you know what, let the fucker sink, we don't need to save it, we don't need to do anything great. God, even though I made an entire video bashing that film, I still can't stop ragging on that film. I fucking hate the final chapter. But here in Jigsaw, I saw something that I haven't seen in 9 years, since Saw 4. A perfect unity of all 3. The writing here is solid. Vintage Saw writing. I am very impressed. The writers did their homework. They understood how to craft a Saw narrative. And I'm even more impressed considering that it's from the same 2 guys who wrote Piranha 3D 7 years ago. I cannot believe that. That's just amazing to me. I guess they have come a long way. And the story is very compelling. You would think, oh, okay, I can predict who's the killer right off the bat. Wait, who is it? Oh God, it's not that person? Well, what if it's this person? No, it's not that person. Oh my God, who's the killer? The story keeps you glued to the screen from beginning to end. You are trying to figure out who is behind all this. And in the back of your mind, you're saying, it can't be John Kramer. It can't be John Kramer. He's been dead for so long. But you start second guessing yourself as the film goes on. I started second guessing myself. Like, because there's this whole thing, I had this debate with my dad a long time ago. In Saw 5, they had to give up 10 pints of blood. And 10 pints of blood is enough to fill up a human body. So there was a theory between my dad and I that they needed that blood to resurrect John Kramer, because throughout that entire film they said they all share something in common. My dad thought that they all shared the same blood type with each other, and it's also the same blood type as John Kramer. So in the back of my mind, as I'm watching this film, I'm like, no way, that cannot be the case. They cannot resurrect John Kramer. Is that what really is going on here? So yeah, the story had me on the edge of my seat wondering how it will all unfold. And I gotta tell you, the twist, it was beautiful. That again, vintage Saw. That is exactly what you would see in a Saw film. And it will take you completely by surprise. There's also one little moment in the film. When I saw it, I almost cried, guys. Because it is so similar to a big reveal that happened in the first Saw film. And when I saw that, I'm like, that is vintage Jigsaw. That is so fucking ingenious and oh my God. Oh my God. But the story and writing weren't the only things clever about this film. The traps were too. These have to be the most creative traps I've seen since Saw 5. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the way that they set up the traps were inspired or even an homage to Saw 5, as they were eerily similar, especially when it comes to the teamwork aspect. What, you think I didn't notice that nifty little detail you snuck in there, makers of this film? That was child's play. And now let's touch upon the third and, in my opinion, most crucial ingredient, the characters. Yes, some of these characters have done reprehensible things in the past. They are despicable, deceitful, deplorable, and not to be trusted. But you can't help but sympathize with their situation, and strangely enough, want to see them make it out alive. See them actually learn from their mistakes, be rehabilitated through John Kramer's cruel methods. I think that's the most ingenious thing about the Saw franchise, is that they could take characters that are otherwise despicable and people would never root for them or even like them at the least bit. They probably will look down upon them, and make them strangely relatable and sympathetic. And I think that's because when we see characters in terrible situations, even though they have done really bad things in the past, we don't want to see them get hurt. We want to see them be punished. but not so much that it will actually cause their death. I mean, I feel like that just might be an extreme, except for the last film where I wanted everybody to die. And the final praise I'll heap on Jigsaw is for its well-crafted and meticulous direction by the Spierig brothers. I hope that's how you pronounce the name. If not, apologies. But you guys did a tremendous job at not only directing the film, but helming the entire project. They were clearly passionate about it, and they understood this franchise inside and out. They did not half-ass it whatsoever. There was no moment in this film where they half-assed it. And I loved many of the choices that they made when putting the film together. Whether it's a directional choice of where to place the camera for a certain scene, or an editing choice to kind of cut off some scenes in order to hide some information to keep the mystery element alive. And by the way, the guy who edited this film is also the same guy that edited most of the Saw films and directed the last two, 6 and 7. I don't know why he directed 7, that's pretty bad, but I'm glad he's back to edit. But seriously, they could not have picked a better duo to helm this project. Seriously, they are probably the most underrated directors in horror at this very moment. After seeing Daybreakers, and they also did another one with Ethan Hawke, I forget what its name is, I'll put it right here, which I also heard a lot of great things about. I can't believe these guys aren't getting more work. They did a great job at resurrecting this franchise. Something I thought would never be possible. But they did it. Now, it's pretty damn clear to anybody who's been paying attention to this review that I really enjoyed Jigsaw. In fact, you could go so far to say that I love the film. But I did find some problems with it. My biggest problem with Jigsaw, and this is a problem I had with a lot of the Saw films, was the mediocre performances. Now, not all of them were god-awful, but some of them, especially when it came to the victims, the people who were a part of the games, yeah, they could have worked a little bit more on their performances. It felt very hokey at times. And this has been a problem that has plagued the Saw franchise since its genesis. And don't you dare say that the acting in Saw was brilliant. It wasn't. There were 2 good performances in the first Saw movie. Carry-out-wise, Danny Glover. Everybody else, not that convincing, not that good. And the final problem I had with the film, and this is more of a problem that I have as a uber fan of the franchise, was with the ending. Something about the ending just rubbed me the wrong way. And I don't know if I'm the only one out there that felt that way, so I'm wondering if there are any big uber fans of this franchise like myself. Did the ending also rub you the wrong way? Because there's something about it. I don't want to give it away, but there's something about this ending that just didn't resonate with me. Now, I will say, the reveal was great. The setup, perfect. Everything about it worked, but there was a certain line and a certain behavior that happened that just made me go, I'm not fully on board with this. But overall, I think it's quite clear how I felt about the film. While it did have some small problems to it, it didn't take away from the fact that I absolutely adored the shit out of Jigsaw. I was captivated from beginning to end. I could not take my eyes away from the screen, and I was constantly on the edge of my seat. It's riveting, thrilling, great mystery with a great payoff. Had a lot of great scares and frights, I forgot to mention that. And as a huge uber fan of this franchise, it gave me everything I wanted to see in a Saw film and then some. This single-handedly makes me have hope for the future of the Saw franchise and to see where they will take it next if this film is successful. Because guys, I must say that this is one hell of a film, and if you are a fan of the Saw franchise, go see this immediately. Watch it now. Support this film, because I want to see another one. But as always, guys, I'm not the end-all be-all opinion when it comes to Jigsaw. I would love to know what you guys thought of this film as well. Did you overall enjoy it? Is it one of your favorite films of the year? Do you think it's one of the best installments in the Saw franchise? Do you think the Saw franchise is finally back? Or just find it boring, dull, repetitive, just doing the same old shit from the past films, and the franchise should have remained dead? And let me know, what is your favorite installment in the Saw franchise? Basically, what's your favorite Saw film? Comment below, let me know, and stay tuned. I am watching Stranger Things at the moment, and I will hopefully have a review out for both seasons. I'll try to get to that real soon. I also am planning to release a top 10 list next week, and also a surprise anime review for Halloween. So stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to take this time to thank all the patrons who donated to my Patreon account. At this moment, I'm really dealing with a lot of shit here on YouTube. They keep demonetizing my content. So the best way to support me to help keep this channel afloat is by donating to my Patreon account. If you guys can donate to it, every bit counts, and I really would appreciate it. There's a link in the description that'll send you straight to my Patreon account. So until the next video comes, guys, if you'd like to see more videos of this channel, be a part of the Black Critic Group, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video, really enjoyed it, and I'm Tony Watt II, the Game Master known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.